All right, all right. Good morning. This is Jarvis with Tampa Bay Politics, setting in for Angela Birdsong, who is out on a mission today. I'm here with DG CEO and In Touch Radio, where everybody, reality radio, where everybody can be a star. We're going to right off the bat give you the call-in number is 813-444-9588. 813-444-9588. We have in the studio with us, we're going to talk about this transportation surtax, all for transportation consultant and outreach person, which is Allison Hewitt from Allison Hewitt and Associates, a dear friend of mine. We've been knowing each other for many, many years. She know how to get results and be impactful in the community. Been doing a lot of work in the community in the areas of affordable housing and CRA, and she just really a jewel, and we're glad to have you. Welcome to Tampa Bay Politics.
Thank you. Thank you for having me today.
Yes, and good morning to our listeners. Thank you for tuning in. We was out last week doing some entrepreneur things, but DJCO, he held it down for us, and so we're back and excited to be back. We're going to talk about transportation. If you know anything about this town, you know that a lot of exciting things is happening in this town, but transportation is something that we've been challenged with for many, many years, and we're going to try to dig deep into that subject today. But before we get started, Allison, give us a little background for our listeners who may not know you, a little background on yourself, kind of your background, education, were you born here, you went to school here, you know how to do it. Tell us about it.
Oh, well, thank you. Yes, I am a third generation from Tampa. Grew up on MLK, and when I was there, it was Buffalo Avenue. Yeah. Attended St. Peter Claver, which I am part of the private school village that we are still looking to make sure that we grow the lives for those young people who are attending St. Peter Claver private school. Then graduated from Chamberlain High School and went to FAMU where
Rattlers striking again.
Yes. Not so much this weekend, but we're hoping we get back we get back on track. Yes. And when I was a senior in high school at Chamberlain High School, they had a executive internship program. That's for folks who had a certain grade level but wanted to look at professional options out there. Well, I interned with State Senator John Grant and got the politics bug at 16 and moved to Tallahassee my senior year to work during legislative session. And my plan was to go to college, become a legislative assistant, and then become a lobbyist. Well, I skipped a legislative assistant, and once I left FAM, I became a governmental consultant for the Port of Tampa, Lowry Park Zoo, Lifelink of Florida, and the Aviation Authority. And so went from there to work for Jeb Bush to be his special assistant, representing him in 19 counties around the state. And then became the director of his Office of Urban Opportunity, his Front Porch Florida grassroots initiative, where I got the economic development bug. And have been in economic development pretty much ever since. So
yes, and when you were with
20 years.
Right, when you was with former Governor Jeb Bush, that's when we met. You was over Front Porch, and
yes.
I was in Tallahassee, and I got to meet this lady named Allison Hewitt, and she was so nice to me, DJCO. She brought me in the office, and we have a black person in a big position of power. You don't know how they're going to treat you, but she treated me with great honor and dignity, and we became friends since then. And a lot of things I didn't know about you. I didn't know about all of that doing consulting for the port, and see, that's why we like to do that. I didn't know. Great background, and bio is very, very strong. So let's get right down to it and dig deep in this transportation, offer transportation, because the question going to be, Allison, let's go ahead and be straight about it. Why should I tax myself? Because now the sales tax is 7.5. This tax is going to raise the sales tax to 8.5, which may be the highest in the state of Florida. But tell us why we should invest in this surtax for transportation. Give us the real reason and the value of doing that.
Well, a little bit about my history there, too, is I'm a former chair of HART, as well as a former chair of the Transportation Board for the National Board APTA, American Public Transportation. So I have been involved in transportation for years. And on a personal level, I have family members. My mother, for one, really loves public transportation. It saves money on gas, saves wear and tear on her car. But she had to cut back because of the frequency. She could not really trust that she would be able to make her appointments on time because of the budget. There's less frequency. So that's just my senior mother, who is very excited about being still independent in her late years, but now having to be more dependent because, traffic and congestion. She would prefer not to have to be in her car.
Yes.
And so with All for Transportation, we will be able to have funds to be able to help our seniors remain independent. Not only with the frequency, but they have Heart Plus, where those seniors can call, register, and then make appointments to get to their doctor's appointments.
And that's very, very important because, the baby boomers and the seniors are a part of the population here in Hillsborough County, state of Florida, all over. But I'm going to back up just a little bit. This ain't the first rodeo for All for Transportation.
No.
The voters voted a couple years ago almost, 63% to actually do this.
Yes.
To increase the sales tax from 7.5 to 8. What happened to that? Give our listeners a little background on that.
The way the actual language was written, that was able to have a challenge. Because when you have the information that are on the ballot, you have to be very specific on how, if it passes, that money is used, how it would be monitored, and it was a lot of ambiguity in that original language, what allowed for an opening for it to be challenged in the court. And the court did find that it was too much ambiguity on the definition on how the funds would be used and things of that nature. But in this, they have learned from that and written a very clear and concise use for these funds.
That was my next question, because the friends on the other side of the aisle, our conservative friends on the other side of the aisle, are going to say, well, what happened to all of the money that was raised for the sales tax? Give us our money back. This is how they talk. So let me just put that out there. The money that was raised when the tax was in, Stacey White, which was a county commissioner, I think he may be still a county commissioner, sued. What happened to, they freeze the money, now the money going to be put in the new fund for All for Transportation? How'd that work?
I'm not completely clear, but from what I have read is that money has gone back to the municipalities in which it was drawn from.
Okay, so we make that clear. So start talking about giving your money back, go talk to the municipalities.
Yes.
All right, so let's go on to the next one. Let's talk about now, Allison, what is the funding for the sales tax that's going to cover? Give me the benefits. Sell it to me, because I'm a salesman, creating a sales mentality, how to think like a salesperson, how to sell benefits. I want you to sell it to me and sell me the steak, not the scissor.
Okay. Well, what the really good thing about this is it would elevate the quality of life for the residents here. But with studies have shown that 48% of this is going to be paid for by visitors and tourists. So for that, you are able to fix the potholes. And so for those in my community, imagine driving from Middleton to 40th Street on Osborne. How many axles and transmissions you have hurt by going into the potholes. Mm-hmm. This will fix the potholes and resurfacing. This will help with congestion. By congestion, that means there will be better lighting as far as timing for red light, green light, yellow light, safety and crash protection, and sidewalks. Sidewalks in my community in East Tampa are critical and extremely important because you have, again, my seniors who are near and dear to my heart, who want independence, have the scooters. But 9 times out of 10, you're in East Tampa, West Tampa, you will see the scooters in the street because there's no sidewalk for them to be able to travel on. So this will actually be able to add sidewalks in the county and the city. And as far as the public transportation, that will be more frequency as far as the bus services. So
and better routes.
And better routes. We will be able to hire additional bus drivers. We'll be able to buy buses. We'll be able to expand the routes. And so rather than an hour and a half, we can potentially go a lot more frequent.
So that's talking about creating more jobs as well if you hire more bus drivers.
Yes.
Let me challenge you again, Sister Allison, about tourists taking care of. How many new people how many people coming into our county that we can really say that percentage is going to be paid for by tourists?
The tourist numbers are about 48%. So if we have 100% that's paying to this taxes, 48% are paid for the tourists who come in and buy things while they're here, food, tickets, and things of that nature. But of the increase in population, I think the last study that I saw, there were 150 people moving here a week.
Wow.
And so
into Hillsborough County.
Wow. And so those numbers are putting a lot more people on our roads, and a lot more people are utilizing our services. And because a lot of that, the folks are from up north, they know the public transportation, because we in the South here don't really value public transportation like they do in the North.
And that is absolutely true. We have in the studio with us Allison Hewitt from Allison Hewitt and Associates. She's a consultant for All for Transportation. We're talking about All for Transportation, more funding, less traffic, safer roads. We want you to vote yes to that. In November, it's going to be on your ballot. That's why your vote is your voice. And you, those who say they don't want to be involved in politics, well, you're going to be involved in politics one way or another, because it's going to affect you. For those that like to call in, the call-in number is 813-444-9588, 813-444-9588. This is Tampa Bay Politics. Your co-host sitting in for Angela Birdsong is Jarvis Salamine. We're talking about transportation with Allison here. Okay, let's move on now. Something that's been floating around in the community, me being a community organizer and man about the town. They said we're going to get a bullet train in Tampa. Is we going to get a bullet train or not get a bullet train? We're going to have that fast train that I can jump on and be in Orlando in 45 minutes?
Well, with the $15 million planning grant that was received, I think we are one step closer for having it in our community, because now that they being the Federal Transit Administration have invested for this local organization to do the planning for it. That's $15 million. That's not chump
It's more than an ocean.
Yes, that's not a couple of $100,000 to see if where they do it. But this is the planning, and the planning includes how to finance it, how to make it into a true public-private partnership, so that the private entity who is moving forward with this will be able to access the funds to be able to build it.
So it's going to be more public or more private?
It will probably be more private.
Okay.
The way that the state is built politically, this will be more of a private entity.
Yeah, and then I caught that. That's probably right.
Yes.
With the kind of current administration we have now. But we had a chance to get the bullet train under President Barack Obama, and Rick Scott was the governor. He, of course, turned the money down. Is any kickback to that? Is any reason why we coming back with it now? The private saying we won't take a chance on just public only. Private got involved so we can make sure it happened. The leadership in Florida, they were adamant that this not be a government-run endeavor, and the leadership has maintained that, but I think been proactive in developing relationship with those kind of private entities that can do it. The challenge again with Florida is that we have historically not set a precedent of investment in transportation. Big ticket items like that.
Exactly.
Right.
So it's going to be an uphill battle, but I do, in my gut, feel when you do have a $15 million investment,
it's probably going to happen.
It's a step in the right direction. Yes.
As a traveling man and a world traveler, thank God I've been able to do that and been all around the United States of America. I think about cities like Detroit that have light rail. I think about Miami got the Metro Rail. I think about Atlanta got monorail. Any light rail in Tampa future? Light rail, just a little rail that may shoot from USF, shoot us down to China side, may shoot from China side down to South Tampa. I don't know. May come through the urban community. Any chances of light rail in the future for Tampa?
I think we need to get past the all for transportation and then start having really in-depth conversation with our stakeholders, with our communities, and especially in the communities that will be impacted if it was built. So we just need to make sure that if that is going to happen, we start talking about it now.
Well, I tell you, I'm getting good at this, DJCO. I looked at my time, looked at you. We're going to a break. Jarvis Salamine. We have in the studio with us Allison Hewitt from Allison Hewitt and Associates, consultant for All for Transportation. We're going to get some transportation in this town. We got a world-class city. We need a world-class transportation system. We'll be right back.
this is Angela Birdsong, and I'm running to be your next Hillsborough County Commissioner in District 2. And I want to encourage you to vote by mail. You can do that by contacting your supervisor of elections in your county. Voter suppression is real, and we have to be prepared to vote and get your family members registered. Do it today. Call me if you have a question. 813-476-4837.
By now, we're all aware of the dangers of COVID-19. Like others with existing health issues, cancer patients are at a high risk due to their compromised condition. If you are newly diagnosed with cancer, your care likely can't wait. Moffitt Cancer Center is the best place for your cancer concerns and to provide guidance to help you plan your next steps. We're here for you. Call 1-888-456-2839 or go to moffitt.org/here-for-you.
You've been injured. You deserve help from an attorney that knows how to handle your injury claim. This is Attorney Clinton Parrish from the Law Office of Clinton Parrish. For over a decade, I worked for insurance companies, and now I use that knowledge and experience to help people that have been injured. For a free consultation, call me, Attorney Clinton Parrish, at 813-413-7924. That's 813-413-7924, or at parishlawoffice.com. At the Law Office of Clinton Parrish, we take the pain out of being hurt. Offices, Riverview.
All right, Jarvis Elamine, we're back. Tampa Bay Politics. Jarvis Elamine sitting in for Angela Birdsong, who is out today, and we got DG CEO. We have in the studio with us Allison here. We really thank her. We're talking about all for transportation. We're talking about transportation today, really. Before I do that, I got to talk about an event. The Creating a Sales Mentality book signing is coming to Lakeland, Florida, September the 28th, which is on a Wednesday from 6 to 8. I'll be doing I'm the business sponsor, and I'll be talking about persuasion skills, how to enhance your persuasion skills. You need to be there. Connect, collaborate, and create and celebrate at The Well. I'll be at The Well. That's on Parker Street, September the 28th. And for more information, you can call me at 813-787-6652. Right now, we're talking about this surtax that's going to be on the ballot. It's on your ballot in November the 5th. So we can improve transportation, so we can get the potholes fixed. So we can stop getting your car from being out of line. Cause I'm driving now, and I'm seeing so many potholes, and it's really got to get under control. So what people are gonna say, Allison, is what part of this funding is HART gonna be handling? Because they're concerned with HART, with all the different CEOs, and so let's talk about what part of this funding they're gonna be able, and how can we be good encourage them to be good stewards of the money.
Yes, I believe that there is a misunderstanding that HART administers the entire Office of Transportation Fund, and they don't.
Okay.
They administer what they do, and each municipality will administer what they do. So HART will do the bus ridership, to be able to implement additional ride services. They will, again, like you said, create jobs by hiring additional maintenance and hiring additional drivers. So this will also be creating jobs while they're creating job access. It will maintain the current service. So those folks who are used to these services, we don't lose that. And incredible, more bus shelters, because right now we are doing, I say we because I was part of that family for so long. They don't have as much budget to be able to do the bus shelters, and I think people don't understand that bus shelters are life decisions for some folks.
Yes.
There are people who, you get the rain. It's horrible cold rain, and there are people who have to look outside their window to say, am I going to stand for an hour in the rain and maybe get sick and miss several days because I don't have health insurance? Or am I just going to miss this one day because I have to take care of my family? So people don't understand that bus shelters are often life decisions for families.
Right. Bus shelters, we need more frequency in the routes, running better yes. routes, and to run more often.
Yes.
How serious do you think that HART going to be about increasing frequency? That's going to be the main thing.
Very, very serious.
Okay.
If they could do it now, they would. They are running as an efficient system as they can with the funds that they have.
Right, and we need to say that because we need to sell this to the public to vote for this. And the pushback they've been having for vote for this is saying that they don't think that Hart going to be up to the task, and you're telling me now they're going to be up to the task. So now let's talk about the other part of the money that's going to be from this offer transportation surtax. What about the citizen oversight? I remember Sean Shaw was on one of those committees. What kind of tell us about that? How that going to work? They're going to be there to monitor the money? You know, what's going to happen with that?
The amendment creates a independent oversight committee that will review the annual audits to ensure that the funds are being spent properly and fairly. Right. So the citizens won't be monitoring every expenditure that's happening, but there will be a required audit. And the audit will then bring up if there are any challenges, if there's any discrepancies, and then a group of citizens made up of folks who ride the bus, who invest in the bus, and again, citizen oversight, not government oversight, will review the audits. And that will make sure that the citizens, the responsibility won't be on them to know the numbers, but the responsibility on them will be to read the audit and spend time to understand the audit. So you'll have real people, real users be able to look at these numbers to make sure that they are used in a way that the commitment to the voters said.
That was the question I was asking. You answered. That's why you're such a beautiful guest and understand what you're talking about. Because saying these are going to be real people.
Yes.
They'll be common people. You got riders. And the people that's the citizen oversight will be people from the community that have a certain skill set. Not just know anybody.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So that's important. Because that was a part of the first time it passed, that we did have. Yeah, and I was excited about that as a taxpaying citizen. The big question, we just seen this tax, Allison. Listen to me careful on this, okay? We just seen this tax for school district, the education tax. Just so it failed. It went to the wire, though. I think it fell by 500-600 votes. That's why every vote count, listeners. Every vote counts. Don't be thinking yours don't count. You got to get involved. You got to cooperate and participate. It's called cooperate and participate. And you can participate today by calling 813-444-9588. So let's talk about this. Are they going to be serious or curious about investing the appropriate funding for marketing and outreach? You got to get the word out.
Yes.
You got to tell the sale. You got to sign a little business that don't have no sign. We got to tell and got to get the word out here in the process of the marketing process and outreaching to communities. Are they going to be serious about that? And let's talk about that.
From all of my conversations, they are very committed and they are very serious. Understanding that the way this is going to pass is if the people who vote understand what they're voting for. And so that means that they have got to make sure that the message is written in a way that their readers understand. Yes. So they understand that it will have to be written in different languages and written in different vernacular. Because there are a group of neighborhoods who may think one way about this. And so you've got to communicate to that neighborhood what this impact is to them. The city, the residents of the city have a different vision of public transportation than the county. Right. And so they are committed to make sure that they are drafting the message so it is consistent, but written in a way that all the audience understands what there are. And
you hit that right on the head because I know, being a marketing expert as I am, and being in sales for over 40 years, the way you talk to the urban core black community, Latino community, is not the same way you talk to the majority community, the Caucasians in the county. So they're committed to messaging different, going to different media. Like you may want to reach a certain audience with In Touch Radio, In Touch News. Certain audience you're going to reach with certain black media that you in Latino media that won't reach them with mainstream media. So they understand that part of the process when we talk about marketing or outreach, because that's where your people with the school district fail.
And definitely understand it. So in one area, they may say more efficient bus services. But in urban core, it may say more frequent buses, more frequent stops.
There you go.
And
more bus routes.
More bus routes.
Yes.
Because the folks who are specifically in the majority core of the public transportation, that's what they need to hear. Mm-hmm. But maybe the folks in the county who are not accessing public transportation as often want to make sure it's efficient, that it is looking at the budget, that is make sure that there's no, that they're trimming the fat, and that the use of taxpayer dollars are done smartly. So that may be, again, that's the same message.
It is the same
But
message.
it is saying it for what the area, specifically what their concerns are. And so this organization here is committed to making sure that they are listening and they are putting the information out in a way that you can understand.
Right. And we call that in sales and market positioning. You got to put it in a position what you say in a manner that your audience can receive it. That's very important, because let me say this to you, Allison. I hope they know we got probably 8 weeks. We down to crunch time. We almost got to hit the ground running yesterday. Are they ready? I know they got to raise a hunk of money. They need to raise a hunk of money, because to finance this, it's gonna take a lot of money to get the word out. You know, it's an investment. Are they ready to roll this thing out and hit the ground rolling? Because it can be done. It all starts and stops with a word called willingness. Are you willing to put the money, the time, and make the sacrifices to get the word out? When you start reading the pulse seem like they're ready?
Yes.
All right. That's what we want to hear, DJCO.
Yes.
They said they're ready, because that's what it's going to take. We ain't got long. You see how, Allison, you've been involved in this political arena a long time. After Labor Day, when you talk about general election November, after Labor Day, it's showtime. Mm-hmm. It's all showtime after here. If all what you ain't did by now, you better start doing it, because, we're going to be November the 5th over there, because really all you got really is another little half a month for September and the full month of October. That's all we really got. And so I'm hoping that we can get the community involved, the activist community, the organizing community, getting the word out that this is important to invest in a world-class transportation system. Also, all the people that got those vouchers that now live out in Stephanie and all out in the county, a lot of crime probably happened because they turned to crime because they couldn't get no job, and they just turned to crime and start creating crime out there. But a good transportation system would probably lead them to get a good job more in the city. What do you think about that? That's just my thoughts.
Well, as you've probably seen, the Amazon and the other large-scale building for providing jobs have not been in the city. But you also see that Robles Park and over in West Tampa, the actual demolition of public housing. And as you said, if you looked at those numbers, and I have not, a lot of those numbers to provide those housing have been out in the county. Mm-hmm. And to have them be able to get to what they have normally been their city jobs have been a bit of a challenge because of the actual number of bus routes and services from the county into the city. And so if you do not provide an opportunity and an option for a man or woman to provide for their family to access to those jobs and to get to those jobs, sometimes they make a decision that is probably not the best decision to be able to do something that is criminal. But
That's
if
right.
you actually give them other options to be able to have transportation to get to those jobs, you are providing additional safety net for your neighborhood and your family. So we're hoping that with the All for Transportation and the group that is organizing this and putting this plan is also making sure they're talking to the providers, HART, the county and the city, about how to find those job centers and do those bus routes to those job centers as well, away from the county into the city, or away from the county into those job centers.
And she's exactly right, because Amazon, they all out in the county. We're going to go ahead and get ready to talk about that. But when we come back, we're going to talk about CRA, a Community Revitalization Board. We're going to talk about affordable housing. We're going to talk about Tampa, City of Tampa budget. It's going to get hot up in here. It's going to get juicy. You don't go nowhere. Don't touch that dial. In Touch Radio, where everybody can be a star on reality radio. Jarvis telling me we'll be right back.
Ray Williams Funeral Home, providing the highest quality, professional, and caring service for your family. Call Jeffrey Rose at 813-253-3419. That's 813-253-3419. Or visit him at 301 North Howard Avenue, Tampa, Florida. Ray Williams Funeral Home, for the finest care and quality service.
work for ya. We tried the other ones before, so believe we hunted. Dial 813-248-6300. Everything gon' be okay, call Ricky, he coming. He taking care of state of Florida, grab a pen or something. Dial 184-361-RICK. That's 184-361-425. Never word from the point forward, just recline. Just ask Ricky, plus your boy statewide. Just in case you missed it, I'ma tell you one more time. 184-361-RICK. Call Ricky, ask Ricky. It's a legal medical referral service. The doctors and lawyers in our network are trained in handling auto injury claims and getting you the best medical treatment and recovery. Dial 1-844-361-RICK. That's 1-844-361-7425. Ricky. Ask Ricky.
Hey, this is Agent Wright, better known as Mr. Clean. You looking for some great barbecues? Come see them two brothers in the grill, located at 423 Virginia Street, Charleston, West Virginia. We got ribs, chicken, pulled pork, brisket, collard greens, mac and cheese, baby. Come get some and get you a nice, smooth cigar. 304-550-4431. That is 304-550-4431. Come get some, baby. The Rib Man, mama, the Rib Man.
All right. Tampa Bay Politics. Jarvis Elamine setting in for Angela Bird's song on our Wednesday from 11 to 12. We have Allison here in the studio with us. We're talking about transportation. We're going to transition. Let's talk about the CRA and let's the East Tampa Partnership. It's called by many names, about the citizen advisory. Kind of for our listening audience, educate them first. What is the CRA? What role does citizen play? What's the difference between the advisory council and the CRA? Who heads the CRA? And then what role the CRA really supposed to be playing in our community, blighted communities?
Thank you.
Let's start there.
Currently, I am the Economic Development Chair of the Subcommittee for the East Tampa CRA CAC. So the structure is the East Tampa CRA is City Council. So that is a CRA board. And then they have next the East Tampa CRA CAC Community Advisory Committee, and that is made up of 13 community members. You can own a business, a nonprofit, or live in the community. I would say the elections for that happens in September 13th. I guess that's next week.
Next week.
Yes. And then we have the East Tampa Partnership, which is made up of all the neighborhood associations, and there are 13 neighborhood association in the East Tampa CRA. And they are funded by TIF dollars, tax increment funding. So that means a portion of the property taxes for everything in the area for commercial and or residential stays in that neighborhood for economic developments to remove slum and blight, to provide affordable housing or for public safety in that area.
Give us an outline of the area.
The East Tampa CRA, which I am familiar with, is the border is 275, and then I-4 to then 40th Street, jogs over a little bit to 50th, and then Hillsborough Avenue. It jogs a little bit off of Hillsborough, not past, I think, DeLille. But so it jogs a little bit up Hillsborough, but it is 7.5 square miles. It is the largest CRA in the state of Florida. Could
be big as a municipality.
Exactly.
Right.
All the other CRAs in Tampa fit inside the East Tampa CRA.
Wow.
It's huge.
So tell us what role do our dear friend Cedric McCray play with the CRA?
Cedric is the East Tampa CRA manager. He manages all of the activities, actions, programs that happen in the East Tampa CRA, and there are a tremendous amount of opportunities and programs now. Since he has been there, and we have the leadership of Ms. Fran Tate as the chair. We now have a Restaurant Ready grant, $75,000 match for the internal restaurants. They have what they call a vanilla shell. So that's they call it the tenant ready. So that's up to $25,000 if there's 2 units. So the purpose of that is if there are empty commercial spaces,
okay, and
someone would like to get it ready for themselves or a tenant, they can do up to $25,000 match for that. We have a homeowner occupied rehab program up to $40,000 to rehab AC, roofs, ducts, windows, foundation. That's coming out within the next couple of months. We just launched a emergency roofing repair program. Just last week, we met with over 40 roofers. As you probably know, you drive around East Tampa, blue tarps everywhere. And the East Tampa CRA and the CAC understand that we are in the middle of hurricane season. We need to help those folks, and so they have an emergency roofing repair that will be. Applications for that should be available after the 19th. We have a pre-development program that just passed, and I'm very excited about. That is property owners who would like to develop their property. We were asked by Councilman Goose to come up with a program that would mitigate gentrification. So as you know, a lot of property owners with large parcels are getting offers to buy their land. So what we did is we created a up to $300,000 for that property owner to be able to go through the soft cost to develop their own property. So they become developers, so they can turn what may be just a old grocery store into a mixed-use commercial development because they have a small grocery store on a large plot of land. So what has kept a lot of minorities away from development is the availability of funds to plan and actually fund that project. So
stop right there, because there's a lot of stew in that, what you said, like we say in the country. A lot of stew. So I want to say to that, there's a couple of questions there. What are the mechanisms for making sure we got minority contractors, minority vendors involved in the roofing, involved in the owner rehab program? What's the screening process if I'm a black contractor? How I get involved in this? How do I get involved if I'm a black roofer?
It starts at leadership, and we have our District 5 Councilman Goods, who is monitoring this closely, and then he works closely with Cedric McCrae. They are taking all the registrations for all the vendors, and they're being very proactive in going to organizations that have the information about the minority vendors. And then within the applications itself, when you apply for the funding, you have to state your subcontractors, and you have to state which contractors are minority, small, women owned.
Right.
So it starts with leadership, and our councilman is adamant that especially East Tampa CRA funds, those are funds primarily funded by the black people who live there, quite honestly, that we utilize minority contractors. Now, all those minority contractors may not come from East Tampa. Some of them may come from West Tampa, but the point is that they have a commitment to make sure that the minority vendors have the first shot
access
at the project.
Right. And in it, is there a website, a phone number that we can give to our listeners that would like to reach out? Just for a point of contact. Like we giving out a lot of great information. How do we bring that in now? Say, call this number, go to this website. We really we want to be proactive and impactful to our listeners. And any listeners that got a question, you can call us at 813-444-9588. But if there's a number or website, give it to us for Cedric office or however to streamline the process.
Great. Yep. The East Tampa CRA office is 813-242-3806.
Once again,
813-242-3806, or they can go to www.tampa.gov and click on East Tampa CRA or the CRAs, and you get all of the CRAs because we have West Tampa, downtown, Channelside, Ybor 1, Ybor 2, Central. So.
Okay, so all right, listeners. So if you want to get involved and you want to be impactful, not just impressive, you want to grow your business, here's an opportunity to grow your business so that you can be involved and you can feed your family. Go to call 813-242-3806. That's East Tampa Partnership, the management by Cedric McCrae, who's a good brother, come in with some good skills, and he used to be a councilman Reddit aide, so he really familiar with city government and how to get it done. Let's talk about now affordable housing. We're in an affordable housing crisis. Robin Locke and Affordable Rising, they've been on top of this thing. They've been turning people out, trying to get some kind of rent stabilization, trying to get them to build more apartments. What role is the CRA playing in this, and how effective they've been?
The We have exceptionally new leadership also with the CRAs, Ms. Nicole Travis and Mr. Elise Drumgo. They have brought a wealth of knowledge and a commitment to bringing strategies to, especially the East Tampa CRA, to implement. We have almost 40% of the budget. We have $6 million this year, overall total budget close to $20 million at the East Tampa CRA, and 40% is focused on affordable housing. We are looking at investing in potential creation of mixed-use housing. The East Tampa CRA has budget to rehab houses. They have a budget line item for replacement housing. Some of our housing have become decrepit. Some of especially our seniors, some of them have outlived their retirements. They have lived past the retirement time. And so they have a replacement fund. So the East Tampa CRA has been committed for at least the last 5 years. I've been following it in housing, and under the leadership of Ms. Connie Burton, when she was chair, she made it the sole focus of the East Tampa CRA.
She did, and thank you for that. And I'll tell you something. Let's give a shout out to Nicole Travis. She ain't nothing but the truth. She was the assistant city manager in Lakeland. And also, Elise, he come out of Newark, New Jersey. I know him personally, too, because I got family from Newark. And I know a lady that used to be on city council in Newark that know Elise. And so those two people I know can get it done. Let me tell you, DCO, you want to know this. It's the CRA that put the well together. You hear me? That was the CRA in Lakeland. So we bring that kind of leadership that they got things done in Lakeland. We bring it to Tampa with Nicole Travis and Elise. And so that's very, very, very important. Look like we almost to a point. Are we there yet? Okay, so what we're going to do, we got something good that we want to talk about next. It's hot. It's right off the press. The budget was presented last night. There was some concerns by some community leaders and organizers about how much money the city is going to put in affordable housing, and we want to talk about that. So we'll be right back to talk to Allison Hewitt in our final segment. Tampa Bay Politics, Jarvis Elamine setting in for Angela Birdsong. We'll be right back. Don't go nowhere.
This is the recipe you've been waiting for. A little touch of smooth mixed with a big touch of soul.
This is how we do it.
We are In Touch Radio.
Hi, this is Angela Birdsong, and I'm running to be your next Hillsborough County Commissioner in District 2. And I want to encourage you to vote by mail. You can do that by contacting your supervisor of elections in your county. Voter suppression is real, and we have to be prepared to vote and get your family members registered. Do it today. Call me if you have a question. 813-476-4837. 813.
Call Ricky. Ask Ricky. You need medical or a lawyer? I got the man to do the legwork for you. We tried the other ones before, so believe we hunted down 813-248-6300. Everything gon' be okay. Call Ricky, he coming. He taking care of state of Florida. Grab a pen or sundown. 184-361-RICK. That's 184-361-425. Never word from the point forward, just recline. Just ask Ricky, plus your boy statewide. Just in case you missed it, I'ma tell you one more time. 184-361-RICK. Call Ricky, ask Ricky. Is a legal medical referral service. The doctors and lawyers in our network are trained in handling auto injury claims and giving you the best medical treatment and recovery. Dial 1-844-361-RICK. That's 1-844-361-7425. Ricky. Ask Ricky.
All right, Jarvis Elamine setting in for Angela Birdsong, Tampa Bay Politics. This is an exciting stable on In Touch Radio. We are very happy to be here. In Touch Radio, where everybody in reality radio can be a star. We are happy to be here. We have Allison Hewitt with us, talking about transportation, talking about affordable housing. Now we're going to transition, talk more about the budget of City of Tampa and affordable housing. Something went down last night that they was presenting the budget, Allison. You happened to be there. And we want to get a front-hand report about what's going on. because we know that activism have really increased because the squeaky wheel get the oil. A lot of people think activism don't work. A lot of what's going on positive in this community would have not happened without the Connie Burners, the Robin Locketts, the Jarvis Elamines, the NAACPs of the world. We wouldn't be able to get it done. So tell us about what happened last night. I heard the budget was presented, and there was a little ruckus, but a positive ruckus, so tell us about it.
Yeah, so the budget was presented, and as you've probably heard in the community, there was a significant challenge about the amount of money the city had allocated for affordable housing. So they did present the $26 million for affordable housing, but after more careful questioning from Councilman Goods, especially Councilman Hurtak and Councilman Carlson, it was explained that that $5 million was actually, the $26 million was actually $5 million from the city, and the remainder from federal and state grants. And so the uproar that has been brought from the community is we're in a housing crisis, and if you're only allocating $5 million, that doesn't seem like you see it as a crisis. And so after some back and forth, and after the community did their public input, the chief, Mr. Bennett, and a recommendation from Lynn Hurtak, they found $5 million to reallocate into affordable housing.
That's a victory.
Yes.
The activism brought in $5 million, DGCO. So now we've got $10 million, sure $10 million in affordable housing.
Yes.
And the hopes of $21 million from state and federal
grants.
And that's what activism do. But we understand that if you got a $1 billion budget and a crisis going on, are you serious or are you curious? If you're serious, you got to put a little more than $5 million in the budget for affordable housing. We remember when the housing crisis going on during the pandemic, they was giving emergency money out for rent and rent assistance. Went through $1 million in 2 weeks.
2 weeks. We're gone.
Come on now.
Yes.
We got to be serious. And, in this how we have to make politics and the political process work for us. And this is what I say all the time, DGCO. This is what I mean by making our vote transactional. This is what we mean, holding them accountable. We vote for this is election season. This was the right time to be asking. Because everybody got political aspirations that's sitting on that council. They don't just want to be on council, they want to go other places. So when people say that activism don't work, that's why you'll never hear Jarvis and me talking bad about activism.
And you mentioned the citizen oversight for the Office of Transportation. Another part that was brought to light at this meeting as well is that the City Council has a citizen advisory board for the budget.
They do?
Yes. They did not make a recommendation this year based on just they having to do some organizational, structural stuff. But the members that were on that oversight committee did talk to each of their councilmen that appointed them. And so you had councilmen armed with information from the Citizens Review, for example, the $5 million that Chief Bennett was able to reallocate came from recommendations from one of the citizens on the Citizens Review Board, and they have only gone through 500 pages of the 1,100 pages of the budget, but they were able to find something to recommend to their council person on what could be a budget cost that could be put into affordable housing. But that also just brings to mind just how important it is for also citizens oversight for citizens who, as was asked by Councilman Goods, that they appoint citizens who know how to read a budget,
right,
who are committed to the community, but also understand what they're reading, and not appointing someone who's just their friends or who gave to their campaign, but appoint someone
they have a skill set.
Exactly, who has a skill set towards it. And because they had those appointees, there were councilmen who walked in there able to say, well, our recommendations for. And then I recommend to everyone to watch last night's meeting because affordable housing was one, but also the toilet to tap was a very...
Explain that to our listeners and to me too.
There is a program called Pure. That is, Pure would use 50 million gallons per day of highly treated wastewater to mix with the water at the Hillsborough River Reservoir to drought-proof the reservoir and use it for minimum flows for fresh water. So essentially taking wastewater, trying to purify it, and come out, and so that's what they're calling toilet to tap, to be able to take the wastewater.
Let me help me understand this now. So you're saying that they're going to be transforming toilet water to tap water that people are going to be drinking?
Yes. Now, again, I'm not the expert on that, but this has been highly debated at City Council, and I recommend everyone to pay attention to the pure conversation and the toilet to tap. This is a long-term plan to be able to keep our reservoirs and to keep the water flowing into Tampa. But there are some significant questions on if this purification is actually
sound.
Yes.
Well, I said when they start talking about water, tap water, Flint come to mind for me. Flint, Michigan. What else come to mind to me is Newark, New Jersey. They had some of the same problem with lead in the water, and the city was, and they was having some kind of process changing how they do the water treatment. So that is a concern that the community, we need to keep an eye on that, and don't like what the young people said, stay woke. Stay woke on that, because it's out of my skill set, but we need to have some people that really, really understand that. What else exciting happened down there? What's the turnout like?
The turnout was really good,
Okay.
as far as even people staying to actually be a part of what, or listening to what the debate was. And so I think the next meeting is on I don't know yet, before I say something,
Right.
incorrect date, but there will be a second budget hearing that we are encouraging everyone to make sure they attend, to be able to hear what they're doing about the toilet to tap, the pure, as well as affordable housing and the funding that goes towards reducing crime and things of that nature.
Another thing I want to talk about is the Citizen Advisory Board for the budget. We never really heard about that. I know in St. Pete they was talking about, saw it on Facebook, people's budget, and they was having citizens talk about how to help with the budget. And we got the same thing in my city, and didn't hear about it. Therein lies the problem again with outreach and marketing and letting the citizens know, how you can have a big budget like that. I'm curious to know how much money in the budget, in that $1 billion budget for marketing and outreach. All these good programs that the city talk about. I'm curious. They said the curiosity killed the cat and satisfaction brought him back. I'm curious. I really want to know. And that is the question I'm going to call Councilman Gould or somebody from the mayor's staff and find out. Because if you got all these good programs, which you just laid out, how many citizens really know about it? That's the question. And that is part of the reason, my dear friends, why we don't have more participation in corporation. People got to have a buy-in. When you see you have people, and voting would increase, because now people can vote their interests. And so transitioning from that, I want to ask the question now. You may know this answer, you may not. How many of those city council up for re-election right now? That's a good question I want to know.
I don't know. I believe pretty much
all
of them.
Yes.
I think all of them are.
Okay. And it's good. And I know the mayor's up for re-election 23, so all of them going to be up. So do we have a chance to clean the slate with the mayor and 7 city councilmen coming 2023?
I believe so.
Okay. Because sometimes I know the county staggers
them.
Yeah, they stagger those. I'm not sure about the city. And I was asked that question and I wasn't sure. But I'm thinking about
I'll have to check. But right now I believe that all of them will be running.
But let me tell the listeners and everybody here while I brought that up. This is the time when people up for re-election that we should make sharper demands, more demands. This is like being in Tallahassee during the legislative session. You know what I mean? This is the time we should be making our acts and putting pressure where pressure. And it's proved to be successful when we got $5 million more in the budget for affordable housing, which is very, very important. So let's talk again about your relationship with our dear friend Nicole Travis, how that been working, because I'm very interested in her skill set. She's very bright. Elise, the great work they did in the city of Lakeland with the well and the CRA. They did more than just the well. They did some affordable housing there too, DGCO, some real nice houses. They did some apartments, some senior houses, They did a lot of great things. Tell us about her before we get on the show.
The prime example is the Penny Saver Project on 34th Street.
Yes, let's talk about that.
The Senior Center / Multicultural Center. The East Tampa CRA has been working on that for 3 years. Nicole Travis started in January.
And it's done.
And it's done. The
demolition started.
The demolition has started. Now they're doing the planning and design. But if it doesn't say that it took you 2 years, what took her to be able to get done in 6 months, she's wealth of knowledge as far as economic development tools, and be able to utilize them for grassroots impact is phenomenal. And that she's creating a team with one Elise Drumgo is also phenomenal. As an economic development professional myself, committed to East Tampa, where I was born and raised, you have to have, as we said for the Office for Transportation, you have to have different conversations to be able to explain the different government aspects. They have that talent. They have the talent to be able to go into a business, to go into a potential business, to go into a residence, to be able to say, this is how we can help you. But understand that they will say, and this is how we can't. We can't do that. That is not a use of those funds. So they will always shoot straight with you on how they can move it forward, but they are committed to move forward.
That's good, but let's give a little credit to Mary Jane Cassis, because she tapped that talent. So we have to give credit to her for that. Also, we know there's some political ramification for that. Get this done before 2023. So this can look good when I'm start running, which I don't have no problem with. That's all politics, and politics is politics. But the results is what count. And what is her official title and position with the city of Tampa? Because I know in Lakeland she was assistant city manager. What is her title here?
Deputy Director of Community and Economic Development.
Wow. Okay. Wow, that's powerful.
Yes.
So she only got one person, one layer before her, then the mayor.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
That's saying a lot for this city. We haven't had that with a black woman or black person in a long time, if ever.
Yes.
If ever. And Otis didn't have no budget. That was the problem with him. Yeah, I had no budget. But she got budget and power.
And as you mentioned, she returns phone calls. She is not. I'm at a level that I'm going to have someone else return a phone call.
No, she don't.
But only because she will call and say to you, I have someone who can answer that question, and they will call you. But she won't just pass the buck. She is extremely busy.
She is. And I'll tell you one thing. When I met in city council, I was down there for some activism, and she have no quarrels in communicating with activists.
Yeah.
The Robbins of the world, the Cunners of the world, the Jarvis of the world. That means something too to us. That people don't dismiss activism and community organizing, especially when they be at that level. And we know a lot of people that be at that level don't take activism that serious.
Correct.
So in our final minutes, we want to give you a few minutes to push, talk about transportation. What are the next steps? How we get involved, get the community involved?
Right now, if you can follow All for Transportation on Twitter at All for Transport. And stay tuned. The All for Transportation organization will be launching their community outreach within the next few days, and we will be back here to be able to announce that, give all the contact information and the next steps. All
right, Allison here, working with All for Transportation. She's a beautiful sister. She's well versed. She's knowledgeable. This has been Tampa Bay Politics. Jarvis Salamine. This has been great, DGCO. Been very rewarding.
Thank you.
Very excited. Next week we're gonna have Jeffrey Rose, who's gonna be our guest next week. So tune in next week. We have Jeffrey Rose. He's an entrepreneur and businessman, a political activist. We'll have him on the radio next week. But we're gonna be getting Nicole Travis. Nicole, if you get this video, you can get a call from me. We'll see you next week. We love you, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. Jarvis Salamine.